Good morning, Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. I am still in Houston, Texas, where I have set up two camera systems, one on the Addicks Reservoir, which is the subject of a lot of attention today and for the next several days more than likely, and another camera over on Barker Cypress Road. Please be sure to visit my Twitter at HurricaneTrack for those links. They are streaming on Ustream. They also are streaming in our app. So if you have our app, Hurricane Impact, you can check the video section and they are linked in there. And they will stay up for most of the day. The one on Barker Cypress Road will likely run out of batteries in the next few hours, but the one on Addicks Reservoir should go until nightfall tonight. Just want to make you aware of that. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening out in the tropics for today. Obviously, Harvey, Tropical Storm Harvey, if I can get my pointer, there we go, is still over the Gulf of Mexico, and the winds are 45 miles per hour. The wind is really not the issue here. Obviously, it is the rainfall, and if we look at the track map for Harvey over the next few days, finally, we're going to be able to get rid of this system once and for all. And the name will almost certainly be, well, it's a shoo-in. This will be retired from the list. It's not my decision, but in 6 years, we will not have the list of names rotate every 6 years, and we will not have Harvey again. I can guarantee it. But this is the track into southwest Louisiana, and so the rainfall threat is really increasing here for parts of Louisiana. Luckily, it is starting to come to an end here in the Houston area, and that will continue throughout the day. We're going to look at a radar in just a minute, but finally some literal rays of hope coming for the Houston area, as well as the rest of Texas here that Harvey has impacted. It's not just been Houston. So let's go back, and I want to look at the rainfall graphic because I got to show you, we need to talk about southeast Louisiana here. This is important because now we're starting to see, even into parts of Mississippi and Alabama, the threat of some pretty heavy rainfall. Got a little bit of a sore throat this morning, so bear with me. And that, we're talking anywhere from 6 to 10 inches, and the orange and the yellows is 4 to 6. So, again, proving that rainfall must be considered as part of the overall impact and maybe even part of the category. That's a whole story for another day. But really pay attention to this, folks, along the I-10 corridor, across really beginning from the western Florida Panhandle here, and then through Louisiana and on across, obviously, into Texas, if you can even get over here. So this is the rainfall forecast, and this is valid through, 7 a.m. Friday. So this is the next few days. All right, and then, of course, the rainfall is going to extend into western Louisiana, into Arkansas and parts of Tennessee. So be very mindful of that over the next few days as this finally tracks inland and we can get it out of the pattern, so to speak. What's happening with potential Tropical Cyclone 10? Not much. The wind shear and the energy in the atmosphere is such that this is going to be more like a hybrid system. Maybe a subtropical storm. It's just the way the winds are distributed. Still the same kind of impacts with heavy rain and wind along the coast and beach erosion, high waves, dangerous surf, that kind of thing. These labels that are given to systems are more scientific. You label a leaf a certain thing, you label fish certain things, and, well, the same thing goes with cyclones and the tropical cyclones. The names are not as important as the impacts, and I think we are really learning that here quite painfully with Harvey as an example. So we'll see what happens as this goes on out. It looks like it'll track into the Atlantic here. Maybe strengthening, we'll see, but once it moves away, at least conditions will improve. Then we have our system out here, 93L, that looks poised to develop into our next hurricane. The global models are jumping all over this, and if we look at the 5-day forecast for these systems here, you get an idea. That's what this looks like. Moving into the Atlantic, the open tropical Atlantic. And then, of course, it'll all come down to what kind of highway and, off-ramp system is out here. Is it going to be something like this? Will it be more to the west? Or, as some of the models are showing, more towards this way in the long range. So obviously we're going to be watching this, and as Harvey, the storm, fades away, and certainly not the story, once Harvey the storm fades away, our attention will definitely be on this next system off the coast of Africa. Looking at the Weather Service homepage, this is very busy, hot out west with all kinds of heat advisories, but then, of course, here along the Gulf Coast, tropical storm warnings and then flood watches and warnings. And on the East Coast, tropical storm warnings and offshore advisories and even some hurricane force wind warnings, the little red area right there, associated with potential tropical cyclone number 10. Now, I want to show you the radar here, if I can get my mouse to work. Maybe this will cooperate with me. Yes, thank you very much. It's been a long week, folks, let me tell you. Not just for me. And I'm not complaining, I'm just telling you. All right, so the radar for this morning, again, you see exactly what I'm talking about over southeast Louisiana here. Big concentration of very heavy rain, and that's affecting New Orleans, Baton Rouge to some extent. And this is going to continue as this fetch comes off the Gulf of Mexico and into the region. And not until Harvey is way up here is this going to shut off. Unfortunately, it's just the reality of it. But notice here, if I can get my clicker to work, we click on the Houston area. Finally, look at that. Over here in especially the western parts of Houston, the rain really starting to lighten up and not be as big of a problem. But you can see down towards Galveston and then up towards northwest of Beaumont and the eastern parts of Texas, very heavy rainfall continuing, and this will be slow moving throughout the next several hours and through really the rest of the day. And if we look at the radar going east, again, right here into central Louisiana along the coast, feeder bands moving in. So if you've got travel plans across the I-10 corridor, a lot of truckers, obviously commerce has to go and continue. Flash flood warnings along that area. Just slow down. It's rough. Be careful out there. This has just been a royal pain in the you-know-what, and we have to deal with it for a couple of more days. And then finally, moving east into the Baton Rouge radar, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. This is just troubling, especially considering some of the pump issues we've seen as of late in New Orleans. Just a very heavy band coming in here out of the southeast. There's New Orleans proper right there. And this is going to work its way not only northwest, but eventually the whole mess has an eastward component to it as well. So just kind of pointing this out, this is affecting millions of people across the Gulf Coast, and it's not over yet. Looking at the satellite kind of helps to illustrate things from a different perspective. Got this comma-shaped appearance, I guess is what I was trying to say, of Harvey. But then right there you can see near the center of circulation some deeper convection starting to fire again. Luckily this will run out of room and it'll make landfall near Sabine Pass, something like that, the center of circulation, and then it'll eventually start to fade away into the history books as probably the most damaging overall, maybe even surpassing Katrina, believe it or not, simply because of the sheer magnitude. We're talking from, the Corpus Christi area, the lower to central Texas coast, really. I mean, it's everywhere, okay? In the city of 4 million plus people, Houston, Harvey is definitely going to be one to be remembered for generations to come. And then you can really see that this is being sheared here, potential cyclone number 10, and the rainfall with that will also continue to move away from the Carolinas. Any school delays up there this morning, well, you got a freebie there, especially in Wilmington, my hometown. Not much impact, but you got to be better safe than sorry. At least it was just a 2-hour delay and not a complete cancellation, and so hopefully that doesn't have to be made up later. And then this will be the area that we really start watching over the coming days. 93L, destined to become a long track hurricane, I do believe. And if we look at the vorticity signature, obviously our systems here are quite evident. But then right there is that ball of energy trying to continue to consolidate, get itself together as it moves over the abnormally warm waters of the eastern Atlantic. And then it looks like fairly high pressure is going to build in strong ridging over the Atlantic here. Not necessarily that shape, but you get the idea. You're going to have this large dome of thick, dense air compared to this system as it develops, and it'll track on across westward over the next few days. In fact, if we look at the GFS, this is the overnight run. Nope, sorry, this is the 6Z run, so this is this morning. And you see what happens here. First of all, with Harvey finally getting inland, this is the next 5 days. And this is that big discombobulated mess with potential Cyclone 10. And then it tries to get its act together, believe it or not, over the northwest Atlantic. And then there you go. We're out here getting close to day 3. There's the systems riding south of 20 degrees north latitude. And once this system clears the pattern, you'll see this high pressure area really starts to expand and drive the system west, what would be more than likely a tropical storm moving westward. So we're going to have to really watch this. It is that time of year where you're coming up to the peak of the season, and this is exactly what we talked about going back to June from the various looks of the Atlantic basin, the water temperatures, the lack of the El Nino, the overall pattern. This is not a surprise, and we have a long way to go, and I think people realize that now, that this hurricane season means business, and we have a lot to keep up with over the next few days. Like I said, I'm down here in Houston, and I've had several people ask me via email privately and even on social media from time to time, how do you fund what you do? And I'm going to take just a moment to talk about that. We're basically crowdfunded. I do work with the Weather Channel from time to time, but that's contract-based work. I'm not a permanent employee like Jim Cantori or any of the other folks, Mike Seidel or Mike Bettis. They get a steady paycheck from the Weather Channel. Mine obviously comes when there's hurricane work and I'm able to contribute. And so the rest of it is from you guys, like public radio being supported by the public. Everybody gets to watch and listen for free for the most part, and a few people, on the whole, help to keep it sustaining. And so some folks have asked about it, and some folks have been signing up to help, but it's not enough. I mean, this mission alone is going to cost me well over $10,000. No, that's not true. A little over $2,000 in terms of the hotel and the gas and the other expenses that I have incurred. Now, that's part of it. I'm not complaining. Again, I'm just pointing something out here, and that's a big part of the budget for this year's field missions, eaten up by just one particular storm or hurricane, Harvey here. So we do have the Patreon for, I guess, the long-term prospects, right? So you could sign up and become a monthly contributor, anywhere from $1 to whatever you want to do. And we've had several people do that, and that's starting to accumulate, and that's great. And you may also, at any time, do a one-time, or if you want to just do it from storm to storm, whatever. The old reliable PayPal. Everybody knows PayPal, and there's the address right there. Fund, no S on it, just fund at HurricaneTrack.com, and that could really help. I've got to get back home in the next couple of days, so I'm going to have a couple more hotel rooms and more gas coming up. And as successful as everything is, I guess, in terms of the way things appear, maybe some people think that we are already heavily funded somehow, and it's just not true. When there are no hurricanes, people don't really, I don't want to say they don't care, but it's out of sight, out of mind. And so now that I've got people's attention, I'm hoping they appreciate what I do, what the people that help me behind the scenes do, and step up to the plate and contribute something so that we can all continue to benefit from this, like I said, like public radio. And I realize that the national relief organizations are going to be also soliciting, and that is extremely important. There's no question about it. But just don't forget the independent little guys out here, such as me, and our efforts to help bring the information before the disaster ever even happened. And I really appreciate those who have contributed. Some people can't, and I get it. And there is absolutely I'm not putting a guilt trip on anybody, but it takes money to do this, and I need your help, period. All right, that's it. I'm going to get a little bit of sleep and then keep monitoring things, and I might be able to get out of the Houston area this evening. I will keep you posted, and if I do, I'm going to post a video about it and tell you kind of what I think about my route and what I can expect along the way. All right, you never know. I might encounter Harvey again on the way back home to North Carolina. I'm Mark Sutter. Thank you for watching for HurricaneTrack.com here in Houston, and I'll have another video update either later today or certainly by tomorrow.